I teased, "Why not move in with me?" The next day she showed up and said, "Hope there's space." He liked it that way. The hum of life support systems and the occasional whoosh of passing cargo ships were his only companions. The apartment was modest, just enough space for him, a few plants in hydroponic pots, and his workbench crowded with tools, gadgets, and half-finished projects. He often spent hours tinkering with zero-gravity furniture, experimenting with magnetic panels and modular storage. To Jonah, the tiny problems of making a home in space were puzzles meant to be solved, and solving puzzles made him feel alive. But today, his thoughts weren't on panels or tethers. They were on Kayla. Kayla had been in his life for years, a friend since the academy. Brilliant, fearless, a little unpredictable, she was the kind of person who would laugh in the face of danger, or at least in the face of a malfunctioning airlock. Jonah had teased her countless times over video calls, making jokes about her habit of showing up unannounced, her tendency to experiment with gadgets that didn't belong to her, or her obsession with mapping unknown regions of space. And today, Jonah was feeling mischievous. On a whim, he sent a message to Kayla. It was casual, joking, utterly harmless, or so he thought. "Why not move in with me?" He hit send with a chuckle, imagining her rolling her eyes and replying with some sarcastic quip about personal space, zero-gravity hygiene, or the horrors of sharing a tiny apartment with a man who talked to his hydroponic lettuce. He returned to his workbench, adjusting a floating panel that refused to stay in place, and tried to forget about the message. But there was a nagging curiosity, a tiny spark of anticipation. Kayla rarely responded immediately, and when she did, it was usually a clever remark that made him laugh or groan. Hours passed. Jonah tinkered, ate a synthetic meal replacement, and floated through his small home in the soft hum of life support systems. He expected nothing from Kayla. After all, it was a joke. Then, just as he was about to start a simulation on the station's environmental controls, his comms pinged. The screen lit up with her face, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You actually said it," she said, her voice a mixture of amusement and disbelief. Jonah froze. Yeah, don't explain," Kayla interrupted with a grin. "I'm already on my way." Jonah blinked, certain he had misheard. "Wait, what? On your way?" "Yep. Pack your floating closet, I hope there's space." The line went silent except for the soft whir of her ship's engines, and Jonah's stomach did a curious flip. He laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. You're serious." "Always serious when it counts," she replied before disconnecting. Jonah stared at the empty screen, his mind racing. She wasn't joking. She was actually coming to live with him, on his tiny apartment station. By the next day, the docking clamps clanked as Kayla's ship attached to the station. Jonah floated to the airlock, staring at the sleek, compact vessel that now looked impossibly small next to the giant cylindrical station. He pressed the release button and the airlock hissed open. Kayla floated in, a single backpack strapped across her chest, a grin on her face. "Hope there's space," she repeated, looking around the apartment with mock seriousness. Jonah swallowed. Yeah. Space is, well, there's space." Kayla's eyes sparkled as she floated further inside, letting go of the handholds and drifting gently. "Nice place. Cozy like a little tin can on the edge of the world." Jonah couldn't help but laugh. "Tin can, that's my home." She raised an eyebrow. "You call this home, I call it challenge accepted." Her presence immediately changed the apartment. Where Jonah had carefully stacked tools and gadgets, Kayla floated past, touching panels, inspecting plants, nudging floating books into more organized chaos. She laughed softly, a sound that bounced off the metallic walls of the station in a way that made Jonah's chest warm, despite the recycled air. "You know," Jonah began, floating toward the kitchenette, "this is small. I mean really small. You sure you want to?" "Small is perfect," Kayla interrupted, her hands weaving through the zero-gravity air as if she belonged there. "It forces creativity." You humans do best when you have to think outside the box, or inside the cylinder. Jonah blinked at her. Her optimism, her fearlessness, it was exhausting and inspiring all at once. He felt a mix of dread and excitement. Living with Kayla would be different. Different, yes, but not necessarily bad. Over the next few hours, Jonah and Kayla worked together to rearrange the apartment. Floating furniture panels clicked into place along the magnetic tracks. Hydroponic plants were secured in new spots, and a makeshift divider was installed to create a sense of privacy. Jonah realized something remarkable. Kayla had an instinct for zero-gravity organization that no manual or AI could match. She could see the space, feel it, and rearrange it effortlessly. As they worked, they laughed, teased each other, and shared stories of their past adventures in space exploration. Jonah told her about the time he almost lost a solar panel in the asteroid belt, and Kayla recounted the day she accidentally rerouted a cargo ship's AI to play classical music during a station docking. "You humans," Kayla said at one point, floating above a modular couch, "are ridiculous." "Ridiculous," Jonah echoed, pretending to be offended. "We're brilliant. That's very different from ridiculous." Kayla shook her head, smiling. "Close enough." That night, Jonah lay in his sleeping pod, staring at the soft glow of Earth below. He could hear Kayla moving around in her small pod across the room, humming softly to herself as she organized her gear. For the first time in a long while, Jonah felt a sense of connection, not just with her but with humanity itself. They were fragile, small, and sometimes ridiculous, but they were clever, bold, adaptable. Even in the vast emptiness of space, Jonah realized, humans had a way of making themselves at home wherever they went. And now, with Kayla in his tiny orbiting apartment, he would have to embrace that chaos. It was going to be interesting. Jonah smiled, letting the soft hum of the station lull him to sleep. Tomorrow, life would change. Not just because Kayla was here, but because humans, even in the tiniest, most confined spaces, had a way of shining brighter than anything else around them. And Jonah couldn't wait to see just how bright they could shine. The next morning, the station was unusually bright. Sunlight streamed through the tall observation windows, reflecting off the metallic walls and making the small apartment shimmer. Jonah floated toward the kitchen area, rubbing his eyes. He was still half asleep, but the memory of Kayla's arrival the previous night made his heart race with anticipation and a little nervousness. Kayla, meanwhile, was already awake. She hovered near the observation window, watching the earth spin below, her hair floating around her face like a halo. She looked calm, almost serene, but there was a spark in her eyes, an unmistakable energy that suggested she was already thinking of ways to improve, rearrange, and optimize every corner of the tiny apartment. "Morning," Jonah said, floating up to her. "Sleep well." Kayla turned, a grin spreading across her face. "Like a rock, a very clever, slightly floating rock," Jonah laughed. "Clever, huh? I'll take that as a compliment." "You should," she replied. Then she tilted her head, scanning the room. "But we have work to do," Jonah blinked. "Work?" Kayla gestured toward the floating furniture, scattered gadgets, and unsecured plants. "Your little apartment, it's functional, but it's chaotic. We need to maximize efficiency." Zero-gravity living isn't just about floating around, it's about creating a space where humans can thrive. Jonah paused. "Thriving? In this tiny tin can?" Kayla smiled. "Exactly. Humans thrive under pressure and in small spaces. Watch." Before Jonah could protest, Kayla grabbed a magnetic panel and propelled it across the room, where it clicked perfectly into place on the ceiling track. She guided a small cluster of floating plants into newly installed hydroponic stations, their roots glowing softly under LED lights. Jonah watched, fascinated, as she moved with an ease that only someone who truly understood zero gravity could manage. "See," she said, floating down beside him, "humans aren't just passengers in space. We're creators, adapters, problem solvers." Jonah swallowed, impressed despite himself. You make it look easy. Because it's human ingenuity, Kayla replied with a wink. We can take the smallest space and turn it into a living, breathing home. No AI, no instructions, just imagination and skill. By mid-morning, the apartment was almost completely transformed. Panels that once floated randomly now had designated slots. Books and gadgets were tethered with retractable lines. Plants glowed in perfect harmony with the station lights, and the modular furniture now moved smoothly along magnetic tracks. Jonah marveled at what Kayla had accomplished in just a few hours. It looks incredible. I never thought a small apartment could feel this open. Kayla floated in a slow circle, arms outstretched. Humans can do amazing things when we work together. We adapt, we create, and we never stop trying. That's what makes us special. Jonah nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Humanity's ingenuity wasn't just in the great discoveries or space exploration. It was in the everyday ability to solve problems, even in a tiny orbiting apartment. And having Kayla here reminded him of that truth in a way he hadn't felt before. As the day continued, Jonah introduced Kayla to the small quirks of life on Station Epsilon 9. He showed her how to control the station's environmental systems, how to adjust oxygen flow in different rooms, and how to navigate the corridors without bumping into floating objects or walls. Kayla picked up everything quickly, her natural curiosity and intelligence making her a perfect partner in this tiny experiment of shared living. You humans, she said during one demonstration, really know how to make the most of limited resources. I mean, look at this station. You've got solar panels, a water recycler, and even a micro-garden, all in a cylinder orbiting Earth. Jonah smiled. We like to think we can survive anywhere, that's kind of our thing. And survive we do, Kayla agreed. But we also thrive, that's the difference. By afternoon, a small problem arose. A routine maintenance check revealed that one of the station's external panels had come slightly loose. Normally, this would be a job for the station's automated drones, but Jonah had always believed humans could do it faster with some ingenuity. Looks like we have a challenge, he said, floating toward the maintenance hatch. Kayla's eyes lit up. Challenge? Perfect. Let's see what humans can do. Together, they suited up in lightweight zero-gravity suits. Jonah handed Kayla a tool he had modified for small space repairs, a combination of magnetic wrench and tethered grip device. They floated out into the maintenance corridor, carefully navigating the narrow space with practiced precision. Okay, Jonah said, here's the panel. It's tricky, but I think we can secure it before the drone even notices. Kayla grinned. I love tricky. They worked side by side, Jonah stabilizing the panel while Kayla maneuvered the tool with finesse. The panel clicked into place perfectly, the weak spot secured. Jonah stepped back, floating slightly upward in relief. See, Kayla said, smiling. Humans think, we solve. We adapt. The drones might follow protocols, but we invent solutions. Jonah nodded, feeling a surge of pride. You know, you're right, we really do thrive under pressure. Kayla's grin widened. Exactly, that's the essence of being human. We make our own luck, and we make it work. After the repair, they returned to the apartment, slightly sweaty but exhilarated. Kayla floated lazily toward the observation window, looking at Earth spinning slowly below them. Jonah joined her, feeling the strange comfort of zero gravity as they both hovered silently. Funny, Jonah said after a moment. I never thought sharing my tiny apartment with someone would feel this good. Kayla laughed softly. It's not just the apartment, Jonah. It's humans. Being around someone who can think, adapt, and create, it's inspiring. Makes you want to do more, be more. Jonah looked at her, realizing she wasn't just talking about the apartment or the repair. She was talking about life itself. Humans, even in the vast emptiness of space, had a way of finding meaning, connection, and purpose. And now they had each other. Evening came, and the soft glow of station lights replaced the harsh sunlight. Jonah cooked a simple meal, reconstituted protein cubes and hydroponic vegetables, while Kayla floated nearby, arranging floating plates and utensils along magnetic strips. They ate together, laughing at the minor messes caused by zero gravity and teasing each other when food drifted away. "You know," Kayla said, floating a small lettuce leaf toward Jonah, "this is actually better than I imagined. I thought moving in would be cramped and annoying. But humans make it work. We always find a way." Jonah smiled, catching the lettuce with a grin. "Yeah, we do, don't we?" After dinner, they spent hours talking about their past adventures, the strange beauty of space, and the small victories that humans achieved every day. Jonah realized that this was what living with someone truly meant: sharing experiences, solving problems together, and celebrating the little triumphs that made life in space not just bearable, but exciting. Before sleep, Jonah floated to his sleeping pod, looking at Kayla in hers. She was arranging her floating gear one last time, securing a small notebook with magnetic clips. "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked softly. Kayla looked up, her eyes glowing with quiet excitement. "Always, humans don't just survive, we thrive. And tomorrow we'll thrive even more." Jonah smiled, feeling a sense of anticipation. Life on Station Epsilon 9 was no longer just about surviving in space. With Kayla here, it was about thriving, about pushing the limits of creativity, adaptability, and human ingenuity. As he drifted off to sleep, Jonah felt a deep sense of connection, not just with Kayla, but with humanity itself. Humans had a way of shining in even the smallest, most confined spaces, and together they could turn any challenge into a triumph. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new challenges, and new opportunities to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology, AI, or machines. It was imagination, courage, and the unshakable will to thrive. And Jonah couldn't wait to see what they would accomplish together. The next morning, Station Epsilon 9 woke with the gentle hum of life support systems and the distant shimmer of sunlight reflecting off the curvature of Earth. Jonah floated through the corridors, checking the control panels with a practiced hand. Kayla had already risen and was inspecting the observation deck, her eyes scanning the horizon as if she could see something others could not. "Morning," Jonah said, floating into the room. "Sleep well," Kayla turned, her grin ever present. "Like a comet passing through a quiet sector, fast, bright, and surprisingly comfortable." Jonah laughed. "Comfortable in zero gravity," Kayla shrugged. "Comfort is what you make it. And humans, we make the impossible comfortable." Jonah nodded, thinking of the small adjustments they had made to the apartment. Humans truly had a way of adapting, even in the tightest, most unusual spaces. That adaptability was what made living with Kayla exciting, and admittedly a little terrifying. By mid-morning, Jonah had begun his routine check of the station's external sensors. Kayla hovered nearby, curiosity radiating from her every movement. "Anything unusual?" she asked. Jonah frowned at the readings. "Well, there is one anomaly. The external maintenance panel we fixed yesterday, its sensors are showing a small fluctuation." Kayla's eyes lit up. "Fluctuation? That's a challenge waiting to be solved." Jonah rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, but it's not dangerous. Probably just a minor misalignment. Still, it's worth checking." "Exactly," Kayla said, floating toward the airlock with a calm determination. "Humans don't wait for problems to become disasters. We fix them before they grow. We adapt, we create, and we thrive." Jonah smiled at her words. That was Kayla in a nutshell: bold, precise, fearless, and always eager to tackle problems head-on. The airlock hissed open, and the two floated into the maintenance corridor. Jonah led the way, pointing to the panel that seemed to fluctuate. "It's small, but if we don't address it, it could cause inefficiency in the station's energy flow." Kayla examined it closely, her hands hovering near the panel without touching it. I see it." Slight misalignment in the stabilizer bolts, nothing the human mind and a bit of clever engineering can't fix. Jonah handed her a magnetic wrench tethered to his belt. All right, let's see how fast humans can solve this. Kayla grinned, floating closer to the panel. Fast enough to impress even the most advanced AI. They worked together, Jonah stabilizing the panel while Kayla maneuvered the tool with precision. Every movement was calculated yet fluid, a perfect balance of skill and instinct. Jonah marveled at her ingenuity. Humans didn't rely on preset protocols, they used intuition, creativity, and collaboration. That was what made them extraordinary. Within minutes, the panel was secure. Jonah exhaled, feeling a rush of satisfaction. Done, see. Nothing beats human ingenuity. Kayla floated back, arms crossed, a proud smile on her face. Nothing, not even machines. Humans find solutions in ways technology can't predict. As they floated back to the apartment, Kayla paused near the observation window. Look at that, she said, gesturing to Earth spinning slowly below. Humans, tiny specks in the vast universe, yet capable of so much. Creativity, intelligence, adaptability, we shine because we never stop trying. Jonah followed her gaze, feeling a deep sense of pride. That was humanity, clever, bold, imaginative. Even in the silence of space, they left a mark. Just as he was about to respond, the station's alarm chimed softly, a gentle but insistent tone that caught both of their attention. Jonah frowned. That's new. What is it? Kayla floated to the control panel, tapping a few keys. It's coming from the cargo bay. There's something moving. Jonah's heart raced, not from fear but from curiosity. Humans had faced countless unknowns in space, and every challenge was an opportunity to demonstrate ingenuity. All right, let's investigate. They suited up again, this time with more care. The cargo bay was a large area, filled with crates, modules, and storage units. Normally quiet, it now hummed with a subtle vibration. Jonah and Kayla floated in, scanning the room with sensors and visual inspection. See that? Kayla pointed at a small crate that was slightly off its magnetic tracks. It shifted during the last supply transfer. Jonah moved closer. The sensors picked it up as movement, but it's just a crate, Kayla shook her head. Not just a crate, it's an opportunity. Jonah raised an eyebrow. Opportunity. Yes, Kayla said, floating toward the crate. This is human problem-solving in action. The crate is loose, and if we don't secure it, it could float around and damage other modules. But with a bit of creativity, we can turn it into a system that prevents future shifts. Jonah nodded. All right, let's see what humans can do. They worked together, securing the crate with retractable magnetic tethers. Jonah held it in place while Kayla installed a simple, clever mechanism, a spring-loaded stabilizer that would adjust automatically if the crate moved again. The design was simple, elegant, and effective. There, Kayla said, floating back to observe their work. Humans don't just react, we innovate, we prevent problems before they happen, Jonah grinned. And we make it look easy, Kayla laughed. Exactly, that's the difference. Machines follow orders. Humans think, adapt, and create. That's why we survive and thrive. As the day continued, they explored other areas of the station, checking for minor misalignments, loose panels, or floating debris. Each small challenge was an opportunity to demonstrate human skill. Jonah noticed how Kayla's presence seemed to amplify his own abilities. Working together, they solved problems faster and more creatively than either could alone. During a break, they floated near the observation window, sipping rehydrated beverages. The earth below was alive with color, the deep blue of oceans, the green of forests, and the white swirls of clouds. It was breathtaking, even for someone who had seen it countless times. You know, Jonah said, I never realized how much humans rely on creativity and adaptability. We survive, yes, but we also invent solutions. We turn problems into opportunities. Kayla nodded. And that's why humans are remarkable. Even in a tiny apartment orbiting Earth or a cargo bay full of floating crates, we shine. We turn chaos into order, problems into solutions. That's the essence of us. Jonah smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans were small in the universe, yes, but their minds and spirits were vast. And with Kayla here, he could see that spirit reflected, amplified, and unstoppable. Evening arrived and the station was bathed in the soft glow of Earthlight. Jonah and Kayla returned to the apartment, tired but exhilarated. They had faced challenges, solved problems, and proven once again that humans were capable of thriving anywhere. As they floated in the living area, Kayla turned to Jonah. You know, this living together, solving problems, adapting, it's more than just survival. It's a reminder of what humans can do. Creativity, collaboration, courage. We shine because we try. Jonah nodded. I've never felt that so clearly before. You make me see what it means to be human, to adapt, to thrive, to create. Kayla smiled softly. And that's the beauty of it. Humans don't just exist. We innovate, we inspire, and we leave our mark no matter how small the space or how vast the universe around us. Jonah floated to his sleeping pod, looking at Kayla in hers. Tomorrow, he said softly, I think we'll face something even bigger, but I know we can handle it. Kayla nodded, eyes sparkling. Humans always do. We shine because we think, we adapt, and we never give up. As sleep overtook them, Jonah felt a deep sense of connection, not just with Kayla but with humanity itself. In the vast emptiness of space, humans had the power to create, to adapt, and to thrive. Challenges weren't obstacles, they were opportunities. And together they could achieve anything. Station Epsilon 9 floated silently above Earth, carrying two humans who understood the essence of their species: bold, clever, adaptable, and unbreakable. And tomorrow, the universe would offer new tests, and humans would shine brighter than ever. The morning sun reflected off Earth's oceans, casting long streaks of gold and blue into Station Epsilon 9's observation windows. Jonah floated lazily toward the control panel, sipping his rehydrated coffee. It had been another quiet night, one of those rare moments when the hum of the station and the distant twinkle of stars were the only sounds he could hear. Kayla, however, was already awake. She hovered near the observation deck, her eyes scanning the black canvas of space like a hunter searching for something invisible. Her face glowed with anticipation and curiosity. Morning, Jonah said softly. You've been up for a while. Kayla turned, her grin unmistakable. Humans notice patterns, Jonah. I saw a tiny anomaly on the station's sensors last night. It's subtle, but it's there. Jonah frowned. An anomaly? What kind? Something approaching, Kayla said, her voice calm yet excited. It's not a ship, not a drone. But it's moving toward us, slowly, deliberately. Jonah's heart skipped. Moving toward us. Should we warn command? Kayla shook her head. Not yet. Let's see what it is first. Humans thrive when they investigate before panicking. Curiosity is a strength. Jonah smiled at her words. Kayla's approach to challenges was always precise and bold. Humans, he realized, didn't just wait for answers, they sought them, and in seeking, they created solutions. They suited up for an external scan, floating carefully to the observation deck's external interface. Jonah tapped the controls, bringing up a 3D visualization of the approaching object. It's unusual, Jonah said, tilting his head. The object was small and spherical, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. Its movements were smooth, intelligent, almost playful. Kayla's eyes sparkled. Not hostile, definitely studying us. Humans are curious, adaptive creatures. I think it's here to observe, like a mirror reflecting our ingenuity. Jonah floated closer. A mirror? You mean something alien? Kayla nodded. Perhaps, or some experiment from another human group. Either way, it's a challenge. Humans thrive when we solve challenges. The object floated closer, its blue glow pulsing rhythmically. Jonah and Kayla monitored it carefully, noting how it adjusted its path whenever they moved. It wasn't dangerous, it didn't emit any harmful radiation, and it didn't collide with anything, but it was clearly intelligent, responding to their presence. "It's almost like it's learning from us," Jonah said, amazed. Kayla floated beside him, tapping her sensors. "Exactly. Humans are unpredictable, clever, adaptable. That's why we shine. Machines or other species might struggle to match our creativity. But us, we improvise, adapt, and thrive. This, this object is curious about us because we are uniquely human." Jonah felt a surge of pride. Humans weren't the fastest or strongest species, nor did they have the most advanced technology. But ingenuity, creativity, and collaboration, those were strengths no machine or alien observer could fully understand. They decided to interact with the object. Kayla floated closer, extending her hand as if to greet it. The sphere pulsed, responding with brighter light and a slight spin. Jonah mimicked her movements, and the sphere reacted in kind. "It's communicating," Jonah whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. "Not with words, but with patterns. It's learning us," Kayla nodded. "Humans don't just survive. We inspire, we innovate, we adapt. And sometimes we shine so brightly that even the universe takes notice." Jonah smiled at her words. They began a playful exchange with the sphere, moving left, right, up, down, and watching the sphere mirror their motions. Each movement became a test of creativity, imagination, and timing. The two humans worked together, anticipating each other's moves, improvising and laughing as the sphere responded with pulses of light that seemed almost delighted. It was a dance, a reflection of human adaptability and ingenuity. Hours passed, yet neither Jonah nor Kayla felt fatigue. Their minds were alive, fully engaged. The sphere seemed to respond to creativity rather than brute force or predictable patterns. Jonah realized something remarkable. Humans didn't need to conquer, capture, or control. They thrived through intelligence, creativity, and collaboration. This is amazing," Jonah said, floating back to catch his breath. "We're communicating without words, just using movement, pattern, and adaptation. Humans really are extraordinary." Kayla smiled, eyes reflecting the blue glow of the sphere. "Exactly. We thrive not by dominating, but by creating, adapting, and inspiring. That's the essence of being human. That's why this sphere is curious about us. It senses our potential." Jonah nodded. "Potential, yes. Humans adapt, think, create solutions even in the tightest, strangest spaces. Like our tiny apartment or the cargo bay. We make order from chaos. We thrive." As the sun dipped below Earth's horizon, casting a warm glow into the station, Jonah and Kayla observed the sphere slowing its movements. It hovered close to the observation window, pulsating softly. It seemed satisfied. Kayla floated beside Jonah. "It's learning. And perhaps appreciating what it sees. Humans are small in the universe, yes, but our creativity, adaptability, and spirit are enormous. That's why we shine." Jonah reached out, mirroring the sphere's pulse. It responded with a slow, rhythmic glow. "It's like it understands us," he whispered. Kayla nodded. "It does. Humans are remarkable. We find solutions, adapt to new environments, and face challenges with courage and creativity. No machine, no alien observer could predict the way we think, the way we improvise. That's what makes us extraordinary." Night fell over Station Epsilon 9, and the sphere slowly floated away, disappearing into the vast blackness of space. Jonah and Kayla watched it vanish, feeling a sense of awe and wonder. "That was incredible," Jonah said. "We didn't just survive its presence. We communicated, we adapted, we shined." Kayla floated back into the apartment, her grin as bright as ever. "Humans thrive in ways no one expects. We don't just exist. We create, we inspire, and we leave an impression, even on the stars." Jonah nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't strength, speed, or advanced technology. It was imagination, collaboration, and the courage to face the unknown. That was what made humans extraordinary. As they prepared for sleep, floating in the quiet hum of the station, Jonah realized that life in space wasn't about isolation or fear. It was about discovery, ingenuity, and thriving in ways that no machine or alien could replicate. Kayla drifted beside him, eyes reflecting the soft light of Earth. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we'll face new challenges, but whatever comes, humans will shine, because we always do." Jonah smiled, feeling a connection not just to Kayla but to every human who had ever dared to explore, adapt, and thrive in the universe. "Yes," he whispered, "we shine, and nothing can take that away." Station Epsilon 9 floated silently above Earth, carrying two humans who understood the essence of their species: creative, adaptable, ingenious, and unbreakable. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the universe had noticed. The morning sun glinted off the curve of Earth, casting gentle streaks of gold and green across Station Epsilon 9. Jonah floated toward the observation window, sipping his rehydrated coffee and enjoying the peaceful hum of the station. Life in space had grown comfortable, even exciting, since Kayla moved in. Together, they had solved minor challenges, secured floating cargo, and even communicated with the mysterious sphere from the previous night. Kayla hovered beside him, her eyes scanning the vast blackness of space with quiet intensity. "Something's coming," she said almost casually. Jonah frowned. "Coming, you mean another anomaly?" Kayla nodded. "Yes, but bigger, something intelligent, something that's studying the station." Jonah's heart raced. "Do you think it's like the sphere?" Kayla shook her head, a grin spreading across her face. "Not exactly, but it's another test. Humans don't just survive, they shine when challenges arrive. And this is a chance to prove it again." Jonah felt a surge of excitement. Humans thrived in unexpected situations. They adapted, they invented, and they collaborated. That was their strength. And together, he and Kayla had already demonstrated it. The object appeared on the sensors hours later, a large, oval-shaped probe slowly approaching the station. It emitted a faint, gentle glow and moved with deliberate intelligence. Jonah and Kayla floated to the external observation deck, strapping themselves in lightly to stabilize their positions. "It's studying us," Kayla said, her voice calm yet excited. "Humans are unpredictable. It's curious, and it's giving us a chance to show what we're capable of." Jonah nodded. "Then let's show it." Kayla floated closer to the control panel, her fingers dancing over the touchscreens. "We need to make it understand us, our creativity, our ingenuity. We don't just exist, we thrive, we inspire. And we'll do that in a way only humans can." Jonah smiled. "Creativity, adaptability, collaboration, got it." They devised a plan. The probe seemed to respond to movement, patterns, and interaction rather than sound or speech. Jonah and Kayla decided to use the entire station as their canvas. They rearranged magnetic panels, floating tools, and hydroponic plants in intricate sequences, creating patterns that were beautiful, logical, and imaginative. "Humans think in ways machines can't," Kayla said. "We improvise, we adapt, we create solutions, and this probe, it's going to see it." Jonah moved a floating crate into a perfect orbit around the station, connecting it with retractable tethers to create a dynamic shape. Kayla adjusted the lights of the hydroponic plants so their glow pulsed in rhythm with their movements. Together, they were creating a living pattern, an ever-changing dance of light, movement, and ingenuity. The probe responded instantly. Its glow shifted, pulsing brighter and faster. It adjusted its trajectory, following their patterns, mimicking them, and adding its own subtle twists. It was as if the universe itself was participating in their creation. Hours passed, and the humans and probe engaged in a silent, intelligent dance. Jonah and Kayla coordinated flawlessly, improvising as the probe mirrored their movements. Every adjustment, every pattern, every creative twist was a demonstration of human uniqueness. Kayla laughed softly. "It's responding, it's learning. Humans don't just adapt, we inspire." Jonah nodded, heart racing. Creativity, collaboration, and ingenuity, that's humanity. That's why we shine. The probe pulsed brightly, spinning around the station in an elegant, almost joyful motion. Jonah and Kayla realized it wasn't just studying them. It was communicating appreciation, recognition, and maybe even wonder. Humans didn't just survive in space. They thrived. They created solutions. They adapted to challenges and turned obstacles into opportunities. And in this moment, it was undeniable. Humanity shone brightly, even to the universe. As night fell on the station, Earth's glow reflecting off the walls, Jonah and Kayla floated side by side, watching the probe slowly retreat. It lingered for a moment, its light pulsing like a heartbeat, and then vanished into the vastness of space. Kayla turned to Jonah, her grin wide. Do you see? Humans don't just exist. We innovate, we adapt, we shine, and even the universe notices. Jonah smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. It's incredible. We didn't fight it, we didn't try to control it. We just used our minds, our creativity, and our collaboration, and it responded. That's the essence of being human, Kayla said softly. We thrive in ways no machine or alien observer can predict. We solve problems, invent solutions, and inspire wonder. That's what makes us extraordinary. Jonah floated to the observation window, looking down at Earth spinning slowly below. Even in the tiniest apartment or the narrowest corridor, we shine. It doesn't matter how small the space or how vast the universe. Humans have the power to thrive anywhere, Kayla nodded. And with each challenge, we become stronger, more creative, and more inspiring. That's why the universe can't ignore us. The next day, life returned to a peaceful rhythm on Station Epsilon 9. Jonah and Kayla floated through the apartment, rearranging floating tools, checking panels, and tending to the hydroponic garden. Every small task was approached with creativity and thought, a demonstration of human ingenuity at work. You know, Jonah said as he adjusted a magnetic panel, we really do shine when we work together. It's not just about surviving in space, it's about thriving, creating, adapting, inspiring. That's humanity. Kayla floated over, a small smile on her face. Exactly. Humans don't just face challenges, we rise to them. We invent, improvise, and leave a mark wherever we go. Even in the vast emptiness of space, we shine. Jonah chuckled. And I never thought a simple joke about moving in together would lead to all this. Kayla laughed softly. Life has a way of turning small choices into great adventures, and humans, we make every adventure meaningful. Days turned into weeks, and the station continued its orbit. Jonah and Kayla perfected the layout of their tiny apartment, optimized the station systems, and even devised a small display in the observation deck to track celestial events. Every action was an exercise in creativity, adaptation, and problem-solving. One evening, as they floated near the observation window, the sky outside lit up with the soft glow of the aurora from Earth's magnetic field. Jonah watched, mesmerized. You know, humans are really remarkable. We may be small, but we leave a mark wherever we go. We thrive, we create, and we shine. That's beautiful. Kayla nodded, floating beside him. It is. And it's proof that no matter how vast the universe is, humans have something unique. Imagination, courage, ingenuity. We shine because we try and because we never give up. Jonah smiled, feeling a profound sense of pride and hope. Humanity wasn't just surviving in space. They were thriving, creating, inspiring, and leaving a mark that no alien or machine could replicate. As the night deepened, Jonah and Kayla prepared for sleep. They floated in their pods, earthlight reflecting softly off the walls, the hum of the station a comforting presence. Tomorrow, Kayla said softly, there will be new challenges, but we'll face them. Humans always do. We adapt, we innovate, we shine. Jonah smiled, closing his eyes. Yes, and together we'll continue to prove that humanity is remarkable. No matter where we are, we thrive. Station Epsilon 9 floated silently above Earth. carrying two humans who understood the essence of their species: creative, adaptable, ingenious, and unbreakable. They had faced challenges, embraced opportunities, and demonstrated the very best of humanity. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the universe had noticed. Humans didn't just exist, they shone.